This week on Unglossy. This podcast came to birth. A, I love working with you.
Yes.
B, I wanted to find a way to work with Jeffrey.
Right.
But C, I had just bought a company.
Mm-hmm.
And my mission in life was to take this company and completely rethink how its perception of this company lives in the world. Not because they had done anything wrong, but just because I wanted to change the perception. Right. And I wanted to be able to talk about brand and marketing, not with brand and marketing people and what was expected, but talk to people about brand and marketing who don't even think of themselves in brand and marketing. And I think the biggest space to do that in a lot of cases, and it's not solely what we're doing here, but a big part of that is the music industry. Because the music industry tends to be on the forefront of culture.
Yes.
On the forefront of what brands are doing. And a lot of brands come to music to try to figure out what's next.
Try
what's
to brand
coming
themselves.
next. From the top.
Yeah.
I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Mickey Factz.
And I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
Welcome to Unglossy, decoding brand and culture. I'm Tom Frank, partner and chief creative officer at Merit Creative. This is Mickey Factz, hip-hop artist and founder and CEO of Pendulum Inc. And that is Jeffrey Sledge, a seasoned music industry veteran who has worked with some of the biggest artists in the business. We're here to explore the moments of vulnerability, pivotal decisions, and creative sparks that fuel the relationship between brand and culture. Get ready for a thought-provoking journey into the heart and soul of branding, the unscripted, unfiltered, and truly unglossy truth. Okay. All right, we have a very special edition of the show today. Very special.
It's my first time meeting you.
First time ever. We're all in the same room, though, which doesn't always happen.
Never happens.
Never happens.
Well, not never, but not very rarely.
Very rare.
Very rarely. We're just out of Washington, D.C. We're in the Merit Studios at Merit Creative.
Ain't this really out of Baltimore?
We're like right in the middle between Baltimore and Washington.
Listen, if you guys ever come here, just know that it's my studio. There's M's everywhere.
There is M's everywhere.
Stand for Mickey.
Yes. We're all in town tonight for a party that's
Yes.
officially opening up the new office.
Excited.
Thank you guys for coming.
Absolutely.
The new Merit compound.
The new Merit compound.
Wouldn't
yes.
have missed it.
And I thought, since we're all in the same room for the first time, we've had a number of listeners who have either made a comment or have sent us a message that are curious. How did this happen? Why the three of us are on a podcast for a company called Merit Creative.
Wow.
True.
All right.
Okay.
But before we jump to the end of the story, I think we got to rewind.
You know that's Tom's favorite thing. But
But before we
We
start, we're
should
gonna.
have called the podcast.
But wouldn't have been a bad name.
That's kind of fire.
Maybe the next one. The next one.
Okay.
All right, we got to fully understand some of the backstories here.
Okay.
So I thought I would start with the elder statesman in the group.
Is it?
Right?
Who's that?
What do you mean? Who is that?
Is that Jeff?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're all separated.
I'm
I think
still fly though.
Super.
I think
fly.
we're all separated by a different digit as the first digit in our.
Oh wow.
In our age.
That's
I
cool.
believe that. I believe that. I believe
Still
you're still
fly,
yeah. So I thought we'd start with here. There was a headline about Jeffrey Sledge from a list in Vibe magazine, which features Jeff, that was titled "Hip Hop's Most Impactful Black Music Executive." I think that is the perfect place to start as the elder statesman.
I've had a couple headlines in my years. A couple light, low key. I was ranked top A&R person of all time. Well, me and Barry.
Of all time.
Yeah, in Complex.
You and Barry Weiss?
Wow.
Yeah,
Well, you know, he's done.
People was real mad, but it was like
people were mad about that.
Yeah, because it's competitive, and then people check the stats. Like, damn.
He's done a lot.
How? Okay, so let's rewind here.
Okay.
You got to start with how did you?
Beginning?
Yeah, you got. You don't have to go all the way to birth, but
not birth.
Let's start at the beginning. How did you get into this? How did you even get to be on this list?
I was born. No.
Most impactful executives.
So I mean, but that list, I don't know. I keep it real. I don't even remember that list, but like
it was recent. It was last year.
It
was 2023.
That was Daytona. Yeah, Daytona did. But I don't. You asked me about that list particularly?
I'm just saying, how does one get on a list as such? That's a big deal.
It's hard work.
I'm not on a list of top black executives in the world.
Yet.
Not yet.
You working towards it though. Hard work and longevity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've been around quite a long time, seeing a lot of people come and go and pass away and this and that, and just have managed to maintain some type of relevancy over those years. that's how you get on that list.
Yeah.
You know, and as an A&R person, I tell people all the time, um, one of the blessings of my A&R career is that working at Jive Records was a huge blessing because we didn't have a lot of New York artists. We had some, we had KRS and Tribe and
That was a
Mickey.
blessing?
Yes, because it forced me to be other places. So while a lot of my peers are like New York, New York, New York, and of course, New York is the home, it's a central location, and too many New York artists have been successful to name, but it forced me to be in Oakland and be in Texas and be in New Orleans and see the a much bigger picture instead of just like, yo, Bronx, Queens, Brooklyn, Manhattan. I was like, nah, what's coming out of Texas, you guys don't know about, because I would go there to see UGK and they would tell me about what's happening down there. Or I would go to Oakland to see Too Short, E40, and move around and see what was happening out there. And I could see trends and waves coming way before a lot of my peers because they were so centralized in New York. So that's also been a blessing, is that even now today, I look at artists and listen to artists, and it's not just this or that. It's like, it's kind of like I see all kind of different trends.
So tell me exactly, when people who aren't familiar, what does an A&R do? Like,
Okay.
What are you essentially doing?
Okay, so A&R stands for artist and repertoire. A lot of people don't know that. They say A&R is just like the artist and repertoire, and your job is basically to find an artist that you think could be very successful. Hopefully, sign them, and maybe they're producers to the label that you're working on, and then you're the helpmate in making the record. Putting them with certain producers, talking to them about what kind of sounds they want to do, helping them understanding their vision. So because you have to convey that vision to the label. They're not going to sit in the marketing meeting. You are. They're not going to sit with the head of the label. You are. So you have to be able to convey that vision and their vision to the next levels up to get it and be like, oh yeah, okay, I get it. So if we do this and that and this and that, we can be successful. That's what a true A&R person does.
Is it an agent? Do you serve as the agent, or you don't serve from a legal standpoint?
No, not legal. No,
not at all legal,
no,
financial.
That's business affairs. That's
totally
a
separate.
totally different department. So I guess it is kind of like an agent. And the best A&R people who I'll name three. Well, I could name four. I could name six, but I'll name three off the head. Barry Gordy, who's the best to ever do it. Best that ever do it. I'll fight that to the death. L.A. Reid, Clive Davis, Ahmet Erdogan. Those are four off the top. There's more. There's way more.
But those are the four off the top.
Off the top of my head, like a lot of people say Puffy, and that's no disrespect, because Puffy was amazing, but those guys were kings.
Mount Rushmore
to me.
Mount Rushmore.
And those guys were able to find an artist, a diamond in the rough in a lot of cases, and develop the talent of that artist. Whether it was Barry realizing his little man Smokey Robinson was an amazing writer, even though he was in the group called the Platters. He's like, this guy's different, Or L.A. Reid finding some kid from Knoxville, Tennessee, Chattanooga, excuse me, and be like, I don't know, what's something about this kid? He could be a global superstar, and that's Usher. I'm at Erdogan seeing Colombia's got this girl, this gospel girl, but they don't know what to do with her. I know if I can get her over here, can make her something, man. That's Aretha Franklin, So,
just Aretha Franklin.
You know what I'm saying? Just a little something. Clive Davis being like, this pretty girl from New Jersey.
Alicia.
I don't know. She could be something. I don't know. Whitney Houston.
Oh,
so
Houston.
But you have to have that
maybe
vision.
A little bigger.
You have to have that. Yeah. You have to have that vision to be able to do that. Those are what true A&R guys are. And again, there's a lot more. And women, there's women A&R too. So, but those are just the four off the top of my head.
So besides Mickey, which we'll get into, what's your best diamond in the rough?
So,
besides you, of course.
Yeah, the diamond in the rough. Yeah, because Mick was a diamond. I don't know how much rough he was, because he was already doing stuff.
Yeah.
I was just trying to pour gas on his fire.
Right.
but I'd say there were these kids in Dallas. I was working with Young Jock at the time. We had done a deal with Jock. He had did one act. It was successful. He said, I got these kids in Dallas. I was like, Dallas? They're in high school. I said, what? So he sends me this tape, these videos to look at. It's early YouTube. And he's literally in Dallas at the high school. And these kids all doing
just
this.
on an old camera.
On YouTube.
Talent show.
Yeah. Literally the kids are like at lunchtime. They're taping each other, right? And they're doing this dance. And I'm like, what is this? But then I look and I'm like, oh no, all these kids is doing this dance. There's something going on here. So me and Jock talk and, all right, man, I'm gonna give you a shot, man. And that was the Stanky Leg record.
Wow.
Huge.
So, which is a massive record.
Massive. Yeah.
So you got to see the vision, like all these kids in this high school. It's not 3 or 4 kids. It's all these kids at the lunchtime and doing this dance. It's in Dallas. It's something going on.
That's how it started. It started in a cafeteria.
Yeah, it started. Yeah. Those kids, the kids in the group, they were named GS5. They made up that dance.
Yeah.
And all the kids in the school started doing it and doing it and doing it. It became bigger and bigger and bigger. In in Dallas, which is not a market that people usually go to for music.
Yeah.
So that was I don't want to say best because they're all like it's like children,
Well, that's your diamond. But
that was just one that was like, and I got a lot of heat for that because people were like, yo, why we sign that bullshit? I'm like, then later on it was like, yo,
genius.
The other diamond was actually Shaq.
Okay, I was gonna say, who is the biggest name that you've ever signed? Well, Shaq, you gotta at least tell us about Shaq.
I'll tell you the Shaq story.
Yeah, I want to hear it.
So he's from Newark, actually, Newark, New Jersey. So he keeps up with East Coast stuff. He was young. He was like 18 or 19. And he was a big fan of the Fushnikins. And he was going on Arsenio Hall show. That's when Arsenio was big. And he said, I'll only go on Arsenio Hall show if I could bring my favorite rap group on with me. And that was the Fushnikins. So they were like, yo, bring them. We don't care. So he brought them, he brought them on. And they did this song called "What's Up, Doc."
What's up, Doc? Can we rock?
Yeah, can we rock? Yeah, what's up, Doc? And the guy who owned Jive, who was actually he's a Mount Rushmore A&R person too, although people don't really know much about him. Clive Calder, he's a Mount Rushmore guy. But he was like, we should sign Shaq, and I was like, come on, he's a basketball player. He was like, no, he saw something. I didn't see it. He saw it. He's like, all right. I was like, all right. So it was like, and it's going to be your project. And everybody clowned because he was a basketball player. And I called a lot of producers and asked them to work with Shaq. I won't name names, but a lot of them said no. Like,
even though it was Shaq,
because they didn't believe in the talent. They liked him. It wasn't about him. It's like, he's a basketball player. Yeah. Like, I'm not. That's like right now. Even like you ask somebody, yo, I want to make an album with LeBron James. They'd be like, what are you talking about?
Although nowadays it seems like a lot more athletes.
They're trying.
Okay.
And I love to say, me and Shaq are the only athlete rapper to go platinum.
Wow.
It's true.
And gold, I believe. Gold. Only ones. Nobody touched it to this day. And that was 1993 and 1994. Nobody's touched it since. So anyway, so he signed Shaq, and I go down to Orlando. I get the guys that want to work with me. Ali Shaheed, God bless him, I love him. Fife, guy who passed away named Big DS, who did the Onyx records. Yep. Eric Sermon, who actually became more like an executive producer because he was so helpful, and a couple other guys that I can't think of off the top of the head.
Biggie was on that.
No, that was Biggie was on the third album. I didn't do the third album. He did that with Clark Kent. But anyway, so we go down to Orlando, and Shaq does. He was messing around with rap. He didn't know how to rap.
So he was with the Magic still at that point.
He was with the Magic. Okay. Yeah. So we go down to Orlando in the summertime because he's off.
Yeah.
So we spend the whole summer in Orlando. 110 degrees every day. He was taking us to Universal Studios and Disney World and Hard Rock Cafe and all this. Can I tell a little side story about Shaq?
You can tell a side story. Anything about Shaq.
So one day we're in a stretch limo, right? We're going or coming from studio. Probably coming from studio because we would work early because he had to work out. So we couldn't work late into the evening because he had to get up early in the morning. So we're going to get something to eat, and we're in the stretch limo. It's like 4:00. Now, for you young fellas, back in the day, banks used to close at 3.
Okay.
Those are called bankers' hours.
7
to 3. Banks close at 3:00.
You probably didn't know that, Mickey.
Oh, this is all news.
Did you even know there was like brick and mortar banks back in the day?
I know.
In peace, no ATMs back then.
No ATMs.
No ATMs.
No ATM.
You
And
gotta go in.
You gotta go in.
You had to balance your
Yeah,
check.
there was no PayPal.
Yeah.
There was
wasn't no debit card.
Venmo, no credit card.
Nah, none of that.
Okay.
So banks closed at 3.
Okay.
So it was like, damn. So Shaq was like, yo, stop at the bank. And I was like, bro, it's 4:10 or something, whatever. It's like the banks are closed. He's like, watch this.
Watch this is crazy.
He gets out the limo, goes up to the bank, knocks on the glass, and they open the bank just for him.
Wow.
The bank had been closed over an hour. They're like cashing out.
Yeah.
Just for him, they open the bank so he can get some money.
He has a lot of his money in there.
Yeah.
He probably had all of the money.
He might have had
all the money. Yeah. So anyway, go to Orlando. We recorded that whole summer, and he learns how to rap, like learns how to record properly and the mic and da-da-da-da. And we put the record out, and it went platinum.
Yeah,
we had a good time.
Shaq.
Yeah.
So you went then from Shaq, and now here's where we're going to start tying it all together.
Okay.
Somehow you find this guy.
Oh, yes, many years later. So I was
years later.
I was at a video shoot, I believe, and it's a guy named Quasi. We should have on the show at some point.
Shout
doing
to
a lot of
Quasi,
amazing things now. Like, big deal with Adidas. He runs. He's like a big fashion guy, right? Quasi's dope, uptown. So Quasi's, I think at that point, just assisting the stylist of the video. So I don't remember whose video it was. So we just kind of kicking it or whatever, talking. We talking about Harlem, and he's like, "Yo, you should listen to my boy stuff." And I was like, "Who?" My man, his name Mickey Factz. We got this magazine. They had a magazine called Laced Magazine, and Laced Magazine was a magazine about sneakers.
Okay,
yep.
And Mickey was the editor.
Yep, I was the
editor. You were the editor of Lace Magazine?
I was the editor of Lace Magazine.
Mm-hmm. So they would put out these magazines and be like, oh, these kids who are now like big fashion people, like legit fashion people. Like, and at the time it was just kids on the street styling, just figuring it out. And he's like, yo, I'm gonna give you this tape. It's a mixtape. What was the one?
In Search of the NERD.
Search of the NERD, where he rapped over all
Pharrell.
NERD stuff was Pharrell.
Yeah.
So it's all right, Tom. It's all right. He was in a production team called the Neptunes.
I know the Neptunes.
Okay, well, I'm just I don't know if you know. So they put out an album called NERD.
Okay.
Nerd. And Mickey rapped over the instrumentals of that mixtape of that album rather. And so I took it home and I was like, that's kind of interesting. I kind of like this, So we met. Built a relationship. He would come by the office. We talk Quasi and Steve fucking Brown and Saint and the whole GFC crew would come by the office, and we built up a relationship to the point where, I wanted to sign him because I saw what it could be.
And was he the first guy to sign you?
Yes. So he was actually the first person I ever met in the music industry.
Unglossy is brought to you by Merit Creative.
Looking to skyrocket your business's visibility and drive growth? At Merit Creative, we solve your brand and marketing woes. With big ideas, decades of experience, and innovative solutions, we'll draw in your target audience and keep them hooked. Remember, creativity is key to success. Partner with Merit Creative and unlock your brand's potential. Learn more at meritcreative.com. And now, back to the show.
When Quasi told me that he gave my music to Jeff Sledge, I didn't know who Jeff Sledge was.
Yeah.
This is around the time before like the internet. You can't Google anybody.
It was none of that.
So I didn't know who he was. I just knew that he worked at a record label.
Yeah.
So my first thought process is I'm gonna meet with this guy we went to dinner. I forgot where we went to dinner.
Yeah, we did go to dinner.
I forgot where we went.
Did you take him somewhere nice, I hope?
Yeah, we went somewhere nice.
Okay, good.
Yeah, I had the corporate card.
Yeah, the corporate card.
So it was all love.
So we went somewhere nice. So like my first, again, I'm 24 years old. My first thought process was, we're going to go to dinner. I'm going to get a record deal tonight.
You're going to sign it? And they're going to wheel in the cash?
Push the paper across the table with a check.
Go enjoy yourself.
Here's your check. Here's the paper.
Yeah.
I thought I was getting signed that night. What I came to realize was that was just an initial meeting. And that the industry works completely different from what you see on television and things like that. So he built a relationship with us as a unit. And he was just kind of like was kind of like the big brother, just kind of watching but not interfering. He did not interfere. He just watched what we were doing. And then he kind of just he kind of saw what was happening. I remember my first show ever headlining was in China.
That's right. You went to China. That's right.
I went to China.
Wait, did he send you to China?
No.
No,
Fader magazine from China wanted us to come out there and do something with them. So we did something in China. It took me and my friends. We went to China.
First time you had ever been out of the country?
The first time ever out of the country.
First time out of the Bronx?
Not the first time out of the Bronx, but the first time out of the country. And when we came home, Jeff, you were living in Harlem. And we went to Precise's house. That was my producer. Precise. And we did the Super song.
Yep.
And he A&R'd that song for us. And it was like a YouTube kind of thing. Like people started doing dances to it. Chanel Iman has a dance to it right now on
Super
YouTube.
was a sneaker brand.
Sneaker brand.
A very popular.
And we were into fashion. So he did that. And then I started to bubble on my own. And I began putting out a song every week. And we would stay in contact with Jeff, but he still was like, I don't know if I'm wrong or right, but I felt like he felt we weren't ready just yet. We still weren't ready. So we were taking meetings. Like I took meetings with Lenny S. I took meetings, at Warner and Interscope. I took all kind of meetings. Now I know that when I go to a meeting, I'm not getting a record deal. So we took all of these meetings, and now like I'm one of the hottest MCs and newest MCs coming out.
Yeah.
And I got a chance to get on a XXL cover. I got a chance to tour with Nas and Busta Rhymes, and I did a car commercial. I did the Honda commercial. I was on video games. I did all of this stuff. I toured the world. I got a chance to see the entire world. And then when we were done,
so you toured with Nas all over the world.
I toured with Nas in the country. I was on the Rock the Bells tour with him.
Oh, okay.
So, and it was amazing every night, right? But then when I was finally done, I had big aspirations of doing like the soundtrack for Need for Speed. I wanted to kind of change music. I was way too ahead of the curve. Instead of just being normal, like I just wanted to do everything outside of the box.
You still haven't figured that one out.
Okay, so finally, when I kind of zeroed in and I was done doing everything experimental that I wanted to do, I finally kind of sat down in Atlanta and I put together like 20 songs. And once they were done, I sent them to Jeff. Mind you.
So you had him still in the back of your head.
Always had Jeff in the back of my head, right? So again, I was doing music all the time. I wasn't really sending him any music like that. I wasn't really sending him. I know he saw what was happening because he's in the label system. He's doing what he's doing. And obviously my name is buzzing. We had meetings, but it didn't really go where we were supposed to go. But this time I sent him all of this music. And this was the very first time he responded back and said, I think you're ready and I want to do a deal. And it would be at Battery Jive. And I was like, okay, it's time. And that's when we kind of finally started working together. This was 2010. So I met him in 2006 and it was a four-year process.
Wow.
And I think that a lot of times artists feel like, they have a hit record or they have a song and it's that moment right then and there. But I'm grateful that it took me 4 years because it made me appreciate the grind and the hard work. All of my peers were signing deals. Kid Cudi signed with Def Jam, Kanye, Wale signed with Mark Ronson, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
That's right.
Everybody was getting deals. I was the last artist that was on the cover of the XXL to get a record deal. So everything that I had got done was off the strength of pure talent and drive. I didn't have a cosign. I didn't have a big budget. I didn't have a label. Every deal that I made happen myself with my team. That was it. It was just us, independent. And Jeff saw that. And Jeff was like, okay, let's bring this into the fold. And that's essentially my story as meeting Jeff and then kind of the culmination of him signing me to Jive Records.
And then also, I'd like to say, and I know it's a totally different time now, so I don't know if you can really do this anymore, but in that 4-year span, like Mick said, became very close with just not him, but this actually keeping it trill. I spent more time with the squad than with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, more. I spent a lot of time with Saint, like a lot of time. Me and Saint would just come out of the office and we'd go out, and Saint started to take me out to all the things that was happening. Because at that time, remember we were at the Rosenthal's. This is part of that downtown scene, that downtown scene, that below Houston scene was where all these at that time kids were hanging and developing the scene, whether it was art or whether it was
fashion.
music or whether it was fashion. All the guys that you see in fashion now and girls, like
they came from
there. They came from there. Like I told the Rosenthal's, I'd love to see a film of Lower Broadway now, because you'd be pointing people like, oh shit, that's that person. Yeah, they were all there. So Saint would take me to all these things and be, yo, these French DJs are DJing. They come with me tonight, and we'd go to see this. There was a big DJ team called Justice.
Yeah,
like he'd be like, "Yo, there's an art gallery open. You should come with me tonight, or you should." It was a club called Santos. That was Saint's nickname, Santo. It was like, "Yo, Santo's gonna be crazy tonight." So I'm saying that in the time that Mick was also developing, I was learning the scene.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to know. I didn't want to sign an artist like him and not know what to do with him.
Yeah.
So when in the time that Saint and Steve, all those guys were taking me around and showing me the scene, and I'm meeting different people, not Kim, all of them, right? I'm learning the scene as well. You know what I'm saying? First, he took me to see Kid Cudi. Kid Cudi did a show. I swear to God, it wasn't 20 people there. It wasn't 20 people. And they were like, "You gotta come! It's our boy Cudi." It wasn't 20 people in the room.
And we ran to that show before he got on stage, and it was about maybe 7-8 people in that, including us.
Yeah. So it was like the scene that I learned. So when me and Mickey started working together, I understood where it needed. I had a better sense. I mean, they understood fully, but I had a better sense of where it needed to go, because I wasn't like, "What's that?" Because on that time, I was developing and learning about that scene.
We need Saint on the show.
Oh yeah. Crazy. Saint crazy.
Saint.
And did Saint always know? I mean, has he been doing the same? I mean, he's an agent, right? He's
a manager.
He's a manager. And he's been doing that ever since.
Yes.
Still managing.
I was his first artist.
You were his first artist. And what about a year ago, met his
newest artist.
Yes.
Yeah. And she was working at Alicia Keys' songwriting camp.
Wow.
So yeah,
it's
full circle.
Saint, if Saint was a rapper, a producer, he'd be Kanye.
Literally,
he knew everything.
He knew
way
everything.
back. He knew it.
He knew it all.
He was like, that person's gonna work. That person's gonna work. This person's gonna do that.
Kind of
I don't
amazing.
know. He knew it. If he could, he was Kanye.
He was kind of like a Nostradamus. He pinpointed what style fashion would work.
Yep.
He pinpointed what music would work. He pinpointed what art would work. Hebrew Brantley, Basquiat, before it started blowing up. Like this guy, like he
Saint, we need him.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll get him.
We'll get him.
He's ready. He's ready.
All right, so let's fast forward a little bit, because we're getting around. I haven't come in the picture yet.
Yeah,
we're kind of okay.
I haven't come on. I haven't
story. We can keep going.
I haven't come on the rap scene yet. So at some point, then, because this is how we're going to get to our connection.
Yes.
You met Lupe Fiasco.
So I met Lupe Fiasco, with Chris Atlas, Cornerstone, promoting.
You told me, yeah.
Oh yeah,
promoting the cool.
We talked about that.
Promoting the cool. That's my first time meeting him, and I was there as a Lace magazine editor. So I was telling him about the magazine, and I said to him,
"What year is this?"
This is 2007.
2007. All right.
And I said to him, one day we're gonna work together. And artists say this to artists all the time, and he just kind of brushed it off and walked away. 2 years later, the next time we meet, we were doing a photo shoot for Phenomenon to go to Japan. Phenomenon Swagger.
Yeah, I remember them.
And the third time we met, we were in Japan together.
And then you're performing together.
And we built.
And this is about 2009.
This is 2009. And we built that relationship from 2009 onward. And then, so that's how me and.
So now this is interesting. Now we're starting to see this. I don't know the year. I'm not as good with years as you are, but I would say right around the same time
you met him.
I'm sitting at a bar at South by Southwest.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm working with a company called Higgy, who is owned by the Chicago Sun-Times.
Okay.
The Chicago Sun-Times guy who owns it, I'm blanking on his name, I should know his name, calls me and says, listen, I have an artist who's going to fly in and you are going to deal with him. And he's going to be our new like face of the company. He's going to be our creative director. I need you to make sure that everybody at South by Southwest knows he's here and you run him around. And I want every minute of his day filled. So the time he tells me this, it's midnight, the day before he's flying in at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Damn.
Yeah. So we put a whole plan together. I had never met the guy before. I mean, I knew of him, but I didn't really know him that well.
Right.
Lupe Fiasco flies in. One of the greatest people I've ever worked with. Because he flew in and he goes, what do you got for me? And I had stayed up all night. We planned up the whole thing. I had a partner in crime. Shout out to Lauren Sloat, who basically was with me the whole time. We planned out the whole day. We made rumors out that Lupe was flying in. We did all this kind of crazy stuff. We shipped him around everywhere. We did every major media outlet that was out South by Southwest. And then that night I get a call, or that afternoon I get a call from Target. And Target says, hey, we're in, you guys been to South by Southwest. They all the different restaurants, get branded. So it was like the Target grill. And they said to me, hey, we want, is Lupe doing anything tonight? And I was like, well, what are you thinking? And they said, we would like him to headline our event that night.
Wow.
So I said, all right, hold on. So Lupe, I said, hey, you okay doing like a show tonight? And he's like, I'll do whatever you want me to do. He's like, and I said, okay. So I get back on the phone and I said, here's the deal. We need a green room. We need, I need to introduce him personally. I need 25 VIP tickets. And I think a couple other things. I get off the phone. He looks at me and goes, who do you know here? I'm like, I don't know anybody, but I figured I'd see how many tickets I
Make it sound good.
Yeah, I had to make it sound good.
Was it
right?
a free show? Did he do it for free?
Yeah. So it was just there. And that's kind of how that scene was. So we're about to go. And he tells me, he goes, you realize I don't have anything with me. Like I don't have my music. I don't have a DJ.
Right.
You got to figure this all out. So he gives me a phone number and I call a guy and the guy sends me the music on my computer. And I say, I got the music. He's like, all right, cool.
You're the DJ.
You're the DJ. And I'm like, well, I don't know. What do I do? And he's like, all you got to do is go up there and hit play. I mean, I'm only going to play like 3 songs. So it wasn't a big deal. So, and then as soon as I'm done, I'm going to grab you and you get me out of here as fast as possible. I need to be back in my hotel in like 15 minutes. I said, all right, I'm in. So we get up on stage and, I announce him. He comes up. People are going crazy. And he looks at me and I'm like, okay. I hit play. And I swear that between the time I hit play and the music came on, it felt like about 3 years to me. It was probably only 3 seconds, but I was sweating bullets because I'm like, I'm up here with Lupe Fiasco and I don't know what I'm doing.
Right.
And the song came on. He took it from there and it was unbelievable.
Wow.
It was
You
unbelievable.
got footage of that?
Oh, yeah. There's a lot of footage out there still of that.
I want to see that.
Yeah, I have to get that for you. But it was awesome.
Wow.
And to that point, I said to him, we're gonna stay working together. We're gonna do something big one day. And so we ended up working together for many, many, many years. To the point where COVID came.
Yes.
Right. And we're all sitting at home. We don't know what to do anymore. And I wanted to get into the podcast space. So I thought, you know what? I'm going to call Lupe out of the blue and see if he'll do a podcast with me. Called him up. He said, yeah, I'm in. I said, what do you mean you're in? He's like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not on tour. I'm sitting around at my house. Let's do something. So we start putting this all together. And then I don't know how. I think he started looking for a co-host.
He called me.
And he calls Mickey. And what does Mickey say?
First of all, before I answer this, I didn't know anything about the podcast space. So he asked me, what would it take for you to do a podcast? He didn't say anything. He didn't say it would be with me. He didn't say none of that. He just said, what would it take for you to do a podcast? And I told him, I was like, I need like $1,500, $2,000 a week or something like that. And that was the last I ever heard about the podcast.
And you were out. Right,
because again, this is COVID. He didn't give me any specifics. If Lupe would have said, what would it take for you to do a podcast with me? I would have said, let's do it right now. He didn't say that. So because he didn't say that, he just put a random thing out.
Didn't you think to push it a little bit and ask him some questions?
You know how Lou is. I just was like, this is what it's going to take for me to do it. Not thinking that it was with him. If I would have known it was with him, I would have just did it.
So Mickey does not become our third host.
I don't become the host.
We fast forward a little bit. Royce the 5'9" steps in.
Yes.
He says, I'm in. Didn't ask for $1,500.
Right. He probably asked him a little differently. But
and maybe he asked him a little differently. Wildly successful show.
Yes.
I don't know if Lupe and Royce would say that at this point because we got into a little
tiff.
little tiff here and there, and the show doesn't exist anymore.
Right.
But through that show, I eventually meet
Me.
Factz.
Yes. Now I meet you while I was in Miami doing Drink Champs. And that was my very first time getting on the show. We were having these IG conversations about who's the best rapper, and it wasn't a episode; it was a Patreon episode.
Yes,
and that was the first time I actually.
That's right. Yeah,
that was the first time I actually spoke to Tom, and I was like, "Oh, okay, this white guy seems cool." And then, like a week later, the show is no longer in existence, and
because I was at the beach at that point trying to
put
out the fire that was occurring, and we had a bunch of guys on. We're all talking about who's the best rapper, and I'm like, "What? I can't believe we're talking about this. What do you mean, who's the best rapper?"
Right. It was friendly, and then the next thing you know, it's all dissipated. And then I guess at some point, Tom gives me a call, and Tom is like, "Hey, you want to do a podcast with me? You want to start this thing with me?" And no, it didn't work like that.
I don't think it worked like that.
I think it was Tom was following me on IG.
Yeah.
And I was starting to do these rap competitions.
That's what it was. Yes.
And he saw that and he reached out to me. And I was like, why is Tom reaching out to me? He was like, I think we can make something out of this.
Yeah, I liked it.
And I was like, I'm just, it's getting some traction, but I don't really care. And at the same time, DJ was hitting me. And DJ was like, I'm at the Bars app.
Mm-hmm.
We can finance this. And I was like, listen, I don't care. I'm going to take care of it. Just leave me alone. And then DJ hit me back. I was like, no, I'm serious. I can pay you and finance this.
Yeah.
And that's when, he gave me what I wanted from Lupe. So he was
you got your money.
Right. So then when I told Tom that I had got paid, then Tom was like, I
want paid too.
I want to get paid too. I can get even more money out of them.
Yeah. Let's
work together. Let's start a company together. And I was like, okay. I don't really say, if you explain what it is to me, 9 times out of 10, I'm going to say, all right, let's try it. Like, I'm not going to be somebody that's going to turn it down too often. And it worked out well.
It did work.
We made a lot of money. Not a lot of money.
We did how many seasons of the Mickey Factz Bars App Challenge? 3. 2.
We did 2 seasons.
2 seasons of that. Yes.
We did 2 seasons. The first one, I was already underway. The second season went really well.
Yeah.
And then we were gonna do a 3rd season.
That's right.
And then it just kind of had nothing to do with us. It was the Bars app kind of just went kaput because Meta got rid of that space,
which we heard on our last episode.
Right.
But
we were trying. But then that's when I was looping in Jeff to get Bun B for the 2nd season.
That's how we met then.
Of the Bars app.
Well, wait a minute. Before that, though, we were looping in Bun B for another project, and the client we won't talk about, to be the face of that project.
Yes.
And they ended up opting not to go with Bun B.
They played themselves crazy.
That was a big L.
I told them what Bun was going to do, and now look at him. Trill Burgers is massive.
Bun has, he has he's always been great for his music, but now he's doing something.
He's like a mogul.
And we had that meeting with them, and we were letting them know like this is what's going to happen, and they just passed on it. Yeah. But that was how I introduced Jeff to Tom.
Yes.
Because of trying to
put that together.
Yeah, but it was really trying to get him to do the season. That's why. And then once you saw how easy it was to get Bun, we came up with this idea to pitch for Meta.
Yeah, we pitched Meta. They didn't take it. Then some time goes by. We're still working on stuff.
Yes.
And then the light bulb goes off.
Yeah. Okay. So let me say that. So again, Tom knows me. Tom has these. He's like Pinky in the Brain, right? And I'm clearly Pinky. He's clearly Brain. And he always has these crazy podcast ideas. We've done about 3 or 4 or 5 of them.
Yeah, we have.
And every time Tom says, I got this idea for a podcast, I let him talk. And when he's done, I'm like, okay, let's do it. Let's try it. And we try it. It might work, it might not work. And then this last one, he was like, he said, I'm gonna figure this out. We're gonna get something in the music space. We're gonna do it. I promise you. He was like, what if we do something with Jeffrey? I was like, who's Jeffrey? Because I don't know any Jeffrey. He's like, Jeffrey Sledge. I was like, oh, Jeff. Okay, yeah. We can do something with Jeff. Jeff would do it because Jeff had been doing podcasting for years.
Yeah.
Like he was doing this in Marcus's place in Red Rooster for years and years and years and years. And I was like, we can get Jeff to do it because he's already good in that space. He's already moving in there. So we can get him, I'll be there and you can run it. And that's how we kind of brought this whole thing together.
Yeah. But I want to add something to that. Well, first I want to ask you a question.
Okay.
See, I always call you Jeffrey because
I
feel like
that's my name.
That's your actual name.
Yeah.
But Mickey says, what do you call him Jeffrey
Because everybody
for?
cuts it. But I actually like Jeffrey. But
Oh, do you?
Yeah, that's my name.
Just wanted to clear that up.
But everybody cuts it.
Yeah.
And after over the years and years, I just got tired of trying to correct people all the time. Like, all right, because the music is Joe Sledge. It's like, that's not really my name.
It just got a ring to it.
Yeah,
So for the record, I do
rock.
call you by the right name.
It was brand. It was brand. Yeah, but the Jeff Sledge thing is branded.
It's branded, man. Like it's hard to say Jeffrey. It doesn't roll.
Too many syllables.
It doesn't roll off the
Nah.
So it's Jeff Sledge just works. So and then that turned into Jeff. But I said that I was gonna call him Jeffrey, but I can't.
I call you Jeffrey.
It's 18 years.
Now wait a minute. Now I'm going to add some context here on this podcast. Then,
all right.
So this podcast came to birth. A, I love working with you.
Yes.
B, I wanted to find a way to work with Jeffrey.
Right.
But C, I had just bought a company, and my mission in life was to take this company and completely rethink how its perception of this company lives in the world. Not because they had done anything wrong, but just because I wanted to change the perception, right? And I wanted to be able to talk about brand and marketing, not with brand and marketing people and what was expected, but talk to people about brand and marketing who don't even think of themselves in brand and marketing. And I think the biggest space to do that in a lot of cases, and it's not solely what we're doing here, but a big part of that is the music industry. Because the music industry tends to be on the forefront of culture, on the forefront of what brands are doing. And a lot of brands come to music to try to figure out what's next, what's coming next. And so that's really how this thing came to be, is like, how could I submerge myself in that as non-musician, although I do fancy myself as a musician.
Today, we'll figure it out.
Today, we're going to figure that out. But I knew if I could get you guys on board with this, we could do something here and we could have some fun with it.
Yeah. And I believe in Tom. I think Tom is a very successful businessman, and he sold me when we got the money from Meta. Once we got the money from Meta, anything Tom said he wanted to do,
that's all it took.
That's really all it took. That's really all it didn't take too. It didn't take too much convincing, and I'm glad that I took that chance. And sometimes you have to take chances with people that you don't know, because you just never know what somebody will become. And the fact that he said that we're going to do this, we're going to figure this out. And I put that trust in him, and we got to where we are. We've had incredible guests so far. Yeah. And we have a ton.
We haven't even scratched the surface yet.
We have a ton of incredible guests on the docket that we haven't even scheduled. That's on the horizon.
Yeah.
And that's a lot due to our network, and the people in our Rolodexes, and I'm excited to kind of see where we're going to take
where it goes. Yeah, me too. It's a lot of people.
And, we need to start counting our episodes. I think we need to say, this is episode
43.
You know what I'm saying?
Like, I'm going to tell you why I do that. I'm going to tell people who are listening that make podcasts, if you say it on the air, then you gotta live up to it. But sometimes we slide them around.
So what episode are we up to? Do you know, Ryan?
We have a lot. Now we've been splitting episodes into 2 as of late.
Okay.
And I've done that very, very specifically because I think people there's people who listen to long podcasts, but I like to think people have approximately 25 to 35 minutes in a commute, in a workout, in an activity that they're doing. And to me, that's like kind of that perfect length.
Going to the store.
Yes. And I think it's kind of fun to have a part 1 and part 2, which we might do with this one.
Yeah, no, I'm not mad at that. And I just want to say,
we're trying things out.
Jeffrey has been taking this thing to the next level.
No doubt.
A lot of the guests that we've been having have been out of Jeff's Rolodex.
They have.
Got a lot more to go though.
He's been shooting from the hip. And I did that purposely because I wanted to make sure this thing did not fail.
So
And
you're waiting on your
because
okay.
Jump out the window
I got a crazy Rolodex. So
You're pacing it.
I'm pacing it,
Right.
and after the Marcus thing, I was like, I don't know,
We had a little trouble in our
We had a
Marcus
little
shoot,
hiccup,
but,
Marcus thing was wild.
but we figured it out.
we figured it out, and we still made it work. And now, I'm ready to start going into the Rolodex. Y'all gonna start seeing some stuff, some people from myself, But Tom and Jeffrey have been really putting in a lot of work, and I want to say thank you to both of you guys because you guys have taken this to where I knew it would go to, and and I got to start pulling some weight.
How about I ask you guys this?
What's that?
Favorite moment so far
of the pod?
Yeah, we've had a lot of guests, and they've been a big variety of people. We've had people in the music industry. We've had people in the sports industry. We've had people in the entertainment space. We've had people in the brand and marketing space.
You know what? One thing I can't. Why am I blank on his name? The cat that's the architect.
Oh, Anthony Laney.
It shocked me how interested I was once we got going. I didn't know him for a can of paint, so I'm not saying I thought he was gonna be whack because I don't even know him. But once he got rolling, and it was interesting with him because I could see that. Respectfully, I could see he does a lot of podcasts, right? He does a lot of interviews.
Yeah.
So at first he was
very
stock answer. He's very stock
answery,
right? But it was cool. I get it. He was still giving information. But then we started, and your other man, your man who's the pilot.
Oh, he was great.
Oh, he was really good.
What's his name?
Yeah.
With him. Not that he was stock answery, but I think he was thrown, and Anthony were thrown by some of the questions, and the questions made them oh shit, okay, oh nobody really.
They didn't know where they were.
Coming to me like that, pause, like that before, with the pilot. I'm blanking on his name. We was what about?
Matt Jacob.
Matt
Jacob. That's who we're talking
Matt, what about orgies on the private jet? What's going on? And and he was like, oh, we doing that type of podcast,
Yeah.
And we went to that, or even with Anthony, it was nah, that's cool, square footage, I got it, but what's the flyest house you ever built? And what you do? And I could see him going people, nobody really,
gravity room.
Yeah, and all that. People, I could see him going oh, okay. People never really asked me this type of stuff. They kind of asked me the basics. So that's not. I don't know. They're necessarily my favorite guest, but that's what I saw. How you could interview somebody from a genre or profession that you're not, really know a lot about. But if you ask them questions in a certain kind of way, could loosen them up and be like, oh, okay. These are questions that nobody would have, in their world, nobody probably would ever ask him that. Matt, what about sex on the private jet? Nobody would ask him that.
Right.
Because he's just a pilot. And they'd be oh, so what's your altitude? Nobody would ask him the more layman kind of fantasy-ish kind of questions. The same with Anthony. So I learned from them. It doesn't matter, if I don't really quite know about what you do. It's got to do enough research to kind of learn what questions to ask and what questions a normal person would want to know, not a professional, but a normal person on the street.
And that's exactly why we do this, because I wouldn't have even thought to ask him half the stuff you asked him.
Yeah.
Which made it kind of wacky and cool.
Yeah, cool. Yeah, he got to see by the end, he was really having a good time.
Yeah.
For me, I have 3 moments.
3 moments.
In order.
Okay.
So 3 is the woman that we didn't interview. And you came late, and she just was talking crazy about you. Yeah,
Beverly.
We got to get Beverly back.
Bevy Smith.
We got to get Bevy Smith back.
She was incredible, and we didn't even interview her. I can already tell that's going to be.
I was nervous about.
So that's 3.
It was so good.
I can't wait.
We talked to her for a while.
Oh yeah, she was amazing. That's 3. 2. I found it to be comical, the naked and afraid situation.
That might have been my number 1.
It's just come on, you just wanted me and Jeff to be naked and afraid.
Naked in the woods.
I just wanted to put you in a very awkward situation to see how you would react.
It was funny though. I give it a good moment.
All right.
And my number 1, obviously, is Reagan Gomez. Come on, what are we talking about? What are we talking about here?
Reagan.
The schoolboy crush in me came out for Reagan Gomez, and all of my friends were jealous of me for 3 days. when I posted that online. It was like, you got to look at and speak to Reagan Gomez. I was like, yeah. So that was number one moment here. Number one. Easily.
What about you?
Well, I Mags was the most fun conversation.
Mags was dope.
Mags was good.
I like Max.
Mags is a
Mags
good
was
person.
dope.
But I also got to say, Marcus Samuelson, like just listening to him to talk about the love of what he does in cooking.
From an artistic
it just
standpoint.
was,
Which one? The live one or the
I think I like the live one a little bit better.
We ate.
We ate. We got to be
crazy
in
too.
his space. I mean, it was great. I loved because I just love talking to my cousin Tim. I love hearing about the NBA.
Oh, yeah, the
I'm
NBA
such
was fly,
a huge
too.
NBA
I
fan.
wouldn't mind a repeat episode with him.
Now that the
Olympics is over, I
Yeah.
wouldn't mind.
And the
having a repeat.
WNBA is like really kicked in.
He's a part of the WNBA stuff too.
The WNBA is owned by the NBA.
Wow, yeah, I would love to have a repeat episode with him.
So we get him back on.
I love that.
We got so much more to do.
Yeah, we do.
We got a lot of crazy guests on the way, like a lot. So we need you guys to stay tuned to Unglossy with Jeffrey Sledge. What's your last name, Tom?
Are you kidding me?
The
The great Tom Frank, and you don't know
Tom
who that is?
Frank. Thomas Frank.
You always make fun of my two first names.
And me, Mickey Factz.
Mickey.
It's Mickey.
It's Mickey. All right.
There we go.
There we go.
That was it.
That's
I mean,
how you learn about us.
That's how you learn right there.
Let's do it.
And now we're gonna hang out. We're gonna go to a little bit of a party.
Party.
Yeah, we're
You're
gonna
see some
celebrate.
You
interesting people.
hear them out there pouring
You might
ice.
hear some people pouring ice and all
That
that.
was a lot, that pouring ice. But you know,
Yeah,
it
well,
They got to
works.
do what they got to do.
And we got to have some ice for our drinks.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Tom Frank.
Mickey Factz.
Jeffrey Sledge.
Mickey.
Yeah, you went the wrong way.
I went the wrong way. We'll start that again. Tom Frank.
Jeffrey Sledge.
It's Mickey.
Oh. All right, folks. That's our show. Tune in to Unglossy, Decoding Brand and Culture on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or YouTube. And follow us on Instagram at UnglossyPod to join the conversation. Until next time, I'm Tom Frank.
I'm Jeffrey Sledge.
It's Mickey.
That was good.